Good morning. Republicans on the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee say Dr. Fauci had no right to invoke the Fifth Amendment given his preemptive pardon from former President Biden. The pardon, though, covers actions before 2025, so Fauci invoked the Fifth more than 100 times, accusing Chairman Rand Paul of having a vendetta against him.
Can you explain to the committee why you chose to fund this dangerous research in China?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
Do you think that the risks really are worth the benefits for gain-of-function research?
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What day of the week is it today?
I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Legal experts say a witness can avoid answering questions that might implicate him in a crime, but not to avoid embarrassment. And before the hearing, Paul had released pages from Fauci's diary where he talks about the celebrity attention he was getting and that scientists weren't in agreement about whether COVID-19 came from a lab leak or natural causes. It'd be interesting to see how this morning's vote plays out. Usually the full Senate must approve a resolution holding Fauci in contempt of Congress before sending it to the Justice Department. But Paul believes he has a workaround, handing the measure directly to the DOJ.
If they choose to pursue it, the judge will have a couple of choices. The judge could say, well, he's allowed to plead the Fifth. Or the judge could say, well, he's been pardoned. Why would he need to plead the Fifth? And of what value is testimony if he doesn't have to promise not to lie? I mean, why would you need the Fifth Amendment if all you have to do is come before a committee and not lie?
Democrats, meantime, argue punishing Fauci for invoking the Fifth will undermine the Senate's ability to compel witnesses.
What up, my people? How you be doing? Today is August 6th, 2026, and Dr. Fauci just got voted into contempt. And as Rand Paul has told us on our show, that contempt vote is going to go straight to the DOJ. And so will we see an actual Fauci prosecution? Well, they did it to Bannon. They did it to Navarro. Aren't these the rules now? It's nice to see the screws tightened just a bit. That's what we're going to do on this program. Congress has obtained Dr. Fauci's cell phone. They've tried to keep that from discovery. And now the man who has it, Ron Johnson, will be joining our program today. Also, King Solomon on the show, John Solomon. John Solomon has a massive breaking news story this morning to show exactly how much theft happened in the 2020 election. It wasn't the most secure election in American history. It was the opposite of that. And every single time that they tell you something like that, you know that they're lying to you. And this is something that was the least secure election in modern history for certain. And now we know that Maricopa County had all of their election records stolen. A man confessed and the FBI did nothing. Amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson and this is The Benny Show. Bond charge is how you can chill out. I'm being attacked by all the neocons right now. It's amazing. We'll get to that in just a second. Isn't it a glorious morning? I drink the tears of the neocons in my cup. Maybe I should make that mug, neocon. It used to be leftist tears. Now it's like neocon tears. But anyway, sometimes that can stress you out. It doesn't stress me out. It lets me know that I'm doing the right thing. But bond charge, ladies and gentlemen, is where you can chill out, relax at the end of the day. It's a red light face mask. It helps for relaxation. It also helps you feel euphoric. It's great for your skin. It's great for the way that you feel in the morning. Helps you go to bed because it's exactly what your body needs. It needs that nice, bright red light. Maybe you live in an environment where you don't get a ton of sunlight for half the year. I grew up in the Midwest, and that was just the way that it was. Or you work in a black box all day, like I do, and you don't get that red light. So go to bondcharge.com/Benny. Use the coupon code Benny for 15% off. BONCHARGE.com/Benny. Save 15%. Bondcharge.com/Benny. Use coupon code Benny to save 15%. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the price of a burrito. I just want to cover this real fast. We don't need to spend too much time on it. But I want to establish and talk about the, newest hysterical meltdown by the neocons and why it is stupid and why these people need to be exorcised from our party. I mean, I'm willing to now finally say that, right? I like coalition building. I really do. And I'm happy to coalition build with people that are willing to stay on message and stay on the rails. But the reality is that forever foreign wars and forever debt spending and the involvement in conflicts that they're unwinnable and make absolutely no sense for our nation is and I've been frustrated with this entire process. It depletes the promise of making life better for Americans. And that's the party that's going to win. You wonder why socialism, you have a bunch of kids that can't afford food, that can't afford homes, that can't afford a used car. And you wonder why they're interested in dabbling in communism or socialism, because we've told them this is what capitalism brings to us. We are capitalists. Well, capitalism, that system, is incapable of providing for the basic necessities of life. Or I'm 20-year-old and everything has gotten 2x more expensive. I actually had a typo here. I said 100x. I meant 100% more expensive. And that's a fact. And this was started because mainly people are bored. It's kind of a tough news cycle right now. There's not a ton going on, but we're going to have a banger day and a banger show. Dr. Fauci, I think that's a huge story. I think what happened with the DOJ and the election theft is also a huge story. But since there's a bit of a lull, right, people are trying to now reposition for 2028. And the argument of affordability has resurged, and for good reason. Everything is obscenely more expensive. And that is a matter of empirical facts. Facts don't care about your feelings, people used to say. And this is something that we need to grapple with and understand. The Iran war didn't make all things more expensive, but it sure as hell didn't help. Okay? It's not the blame for everything being more expensive. I trace my numbers back 20 years. So who's a young person today? A young person is a 20-year-old, right? And there's this debate, not started by me, but there's this debate that burritos shouldn't cost $20. And indeed, they do, right? If you go to Chipotle and you get a burrito meal, you'll be paying $20. It used to be $6. What the hell is that? Well, that's obviously food inflation, money inflation. The cost of gas has doubled to deliver those goods and services. The cost of labor has increased. The value of the dollar has decreased. So there's all of these factors, but it all really goes back to the core and central tenet is that our government spends too much money. Inflation is a function of government spending and nothing else. That's all it is. And so all these really smart people that claim to be from prestigious institutions. I went to Harvard. I went to Yale. Oh, really? Well, I went to Kirkwood Community College in the middle of a cornfield. And even I can tell you what inflation is, dumbass. And inflation is simply the government spending too much money. Is that on forever wars? Absolutely. Did the forever wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Iran, are those going to cost trillions of dollars? Have they already cost trillions of dollars? Absolutely. And that's, of course, deficit spending. And do our welfare programs and the fraud that is committed there cost money? Does the open border cost money? Yes. And the neocons actually brought us all those things. And so, yeah, I'm perfectly happy to fight them and exercise them from our party. I choose my battles extremely carefully. I'm almost always fighting the left. 98% of the time, I'm fighting the left. Front face the enemy. But on this issue, I've finally had enough. And I have all these, Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and I have all these neocons in my mentions or all across the internet, going after those of us who decide to just demonstrate in raw data. That's for the last 20 years. Okay, again, this isn't going back to 1950. I'm not trying to selectively bend the data. We're talking about your lifetime and mine. What you would consider a young person getting started, a 20-year-old. Okay, 2006. Let's go there. 155% more expensive. Ground beef is 200% more expensive. Chicken is 100% more expensive. Fish is 100% more expensive. Coffee is 114% more expensive. Eggs are 63% more expensive. A box of cereal is 50% more expensive. A bottle of Coke is 100% more expensive. A fast food meal cost, we're talking fries and a drink and a burger, is 500% more expensive. Sit-down restaurants are 169% more expensive. Gallon of gasoline is 57% more expensive. Average used car is 150% more expensive. Average movie ticket is 100% more expensive. Rent is 130% more expensive. And most critically here, the average cost of a home is 100% more expensive. Don't tell me that this is sustainable. I run a small business. We're proud of our business. Would I be able to run our business if the cost of doing this business every few years went up 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%, getting to 100 or 150 or 200% more expensive? Like, you wouldn't be able to run anything like this. You can't scale this way. It is unhealthy. It's insurmountable. Again, I put it down, I put it down here. Like, it's not just that I'm trying to beat up exactly on the neocons and their bloodlust issues, right, for going to war forever and ever. Like, and I've seen it, the reason why this happens is obviously there's a lot of people around DC that get very, very rich from this. And we've talked about it on the show ad nauseum. The reason that neocons exist is because in DC, the only product that DC makes is war. That's it. They make war and dollars, and they can print both. They can create both. They can create dollars, and they can create war, and they can put them together and make a lot more dollars. That's it. That's it. There's no natural resources in DC. There's no diamond mines. There's no coal mines. There's no trees to cut down. There's just war and money printing. And so that's what these, to a hammer, everything's a nail. And so that's what these people do. And they love to make war. And then the rest of America suffers. There's not a single war in the modern era that has materially made anyone's life better. They haven't. Not like in your lifetime or mine. There's not a single American war that has somehow significantly improved the value of our lives. And so it's worth calling it out. And it's, speaking true things is like critically important. And establishing that we actually care about the cost of living for Americans is a survival mechanism. We will be destroyed as a movement if we don't care about these things, if we don't voice them, if we don't speak them. And I'm telling you, like, in my timeline is the most hysterical, sociopathic, deranged, you be grateful, shut up, it's because you drink iced coffee. Oh, everyone has to sacrifice all the time. Shut up. Like, I'm so sick of hearing these people. These are multimillionaire podcasters. And oh, by the way, like, I know what I think the difference is, I know what it feels like to be absolutely $0 in my bank account. It's completely poor. I put up yesterday, Alex, send it to me, please. I put up yesterday, dollar menu nationalism. This is my political opinion. You want to know what, you don't want to know what political party I'm part of? Dollar menu nationalism. And that is the dollar menu that existed when I was in college. And it was incredible. And I feel privileged. Thank you. Wow, that was fast. I feel privileged to be able to have lived through an era where this could sustain me. You can eat like a king for $5 off this menu. What would you have? Do you remember this menu? What would you eat? We're going to do in the chat today. And what would you eat? I mean, honestly, today, if this menu existed, you're going to call this a cop-out, but it's because I'm getting older, right, and fatter, and I need to watch my calories. I would do the McDouble. I would do like probably 3 McDoubles if I had $5. Take the buns off, eat the protein. It's like 100 grams of protein for $3. That's like the best deal in the world. Do you realize how healthy that is? Do you realize how good that actually is for you? Yo. Maybe like a parfait or sundae. Sweet treat. That's not good for you, but whatever. Side salad was not bad. I lived off this menu. Did you? Did you live off Jack in the Box? My entire mention is now like people saying, oh, Wendy's, Jack in the Box. Like, I lived off dollar menus. They don't exist anymore. Every menu at McDonald's is like practically $5. It is atrocious what we've done. And yes, forever wars are a huge part of our deficit spending. And a nightmare that is a distraction, and that's what this Iran war has been, a distraction from the main thing. And I know it's not sexy. It's not sexy to go out there and talk about egg prices. It's not. You're not going to make headlines. It might not even put you in the history books, but it'll win you an election. You'll be written into the history books as somebody who passed power onto your party because it's all Americans care about. Final note on all of this is, like, if you don't talk about it, people know that you don't care. I'm not trying to second guess the president on all this. I'm not trying to rend my garments and scream and shriek and burn my MAGA hat. I will not do that. I'm a loyalist. I want MAGA to win. I want Trump to win. I want the torch to be passed. I want 100 years of MAGA. I want 100 years of America First. The only way that you actually get that is by doing the things that win elections. And what is that exactly? Well, why don't you go down to your local Walmart parking lot? Why don't you go down? I should probably do this. It's been a while since we've done a man on the street. Go down to, the area where everyone's drinking in Tampa, Ybor City or Howard Avenue. These are like places where there's a ton of bars and a ton of college kids. The 20-year-olds, right, who's had the price of their lives and the basic commodities in their lives 2x over their short lifetime. Go down there, get your microphone, and ask them, what's an Ayatollah? What's a Bandar Abbas? What is the Balamob Strait, right? No, they don't care. Who are Houthis? Oh, the Houthis and the Blowfish. My dad loved them. Bandar Abbas, isn't that Drake's new album? They don't care. They don't know. But if you ask them the price of gas, if you ask them if fast food is more expensive in their lifetime, where the dollar menu went, they know that. And those are like the aesthetics, the feelings that drive votes or drive collapse of political movements. People that don't care for those things. And it's always been that way. This is not some universal Trump problem. And yeah, if I'm arguing completely correctly here, and Ron Johnson, okay, fantastic. Ron Johnson is set and ready to go. If I'm arguing completely correctly here, Trump is not the problem, in fact. Trump was not in power in 2006. And all of these decisions, the vast majority of these decisions, had nothing to do with Trump. He wasn't in power. But he is now. And you suffer the consequences of even bad decisions that people made before you if you don't try and solve them or actively message that you hear people and you're trying to solve it. I feel your pain. A lot of people can still say that from Bill Clinton. I feel your pain. Well, we got to start doing that as a movement. We got to start feeling that. And gas is too expensive. Too expensive. Groceries too expensive. Home prices too expensive. All of it's too expensive. And the first step is acknowledging you have a problem. Okay. So anyway, let us engage in our crusades, get our Knights of Templar armor on, and march forward. A man who is fighting constantly the good fight is the great Senator Ron Johnson. He has some massive news to break on our show this morning. Welcome, Ron Johnson. Senator, thank you so much for being on the program. I hear that you have a critical piece of data or evidence, or maybe terabytes of evidence now against Dr. Fauci that he was desperately trying to get your committee to not obtain his cell phone. And perhaps you could brief us on what does this now mean?
Well, I can't tell you what's really on the cell phone. We're starting to look at it. It's going to take some time. We have to download it properly. We got a copy of the cell phones, as did Chairman Paul. So we're going to be working very cooperatively, our staffs, making sure that we protect people's privacy. One of the things I'm going to definitely do is that there have been some FOIA productions from Fauci's, of his text, that type of thing. We'll look very closely to see whether those FOIA requests were fully honored. So there's all kinds of things we're going to be able to do. We're obviously going to focus in key time frames. I'd be really interested in text between the people that participated in the January 2020 and the February, early 2020 exchanges where these people who got grants from Anthony Fauci thought it was the virus was probably man-made, and within a couple of days, based on those phone conversations, conference calls, all of a sudden, that's conspiracy theory, and this obviously sprang from nature. So again, these investigations take time. The nice thing is now we have a lot more documents. You compare one set of documents with another set of documents. You start finding out, this is missing. They were supposed to turn these records over to us. We've got them here, but they're missing over there. And you start putting together a case of nothing else, obstruction of federal records, which we know exists.
So this exists. Obviously, there was obstruction before the committee just last week, and now the contempt vote was just confirmed in the Senate. Can you update us on this?
Chairman Paul held a business meeting where we voted contempt Congress's party line. I mean, Democrats continue to raise Anthony Fauci up as St. Anthony, and he can do no harm. And, calling this the hearing last week just a travesty. What was a travesty about is the fact that Anthony Fauci did not answer the questions the American people deserve to have answered. He did an interview. I can't remember exactly where, saying, "I'm not afraid of congressional oversight. I'm happy to talk to any oversight committee. I've got nothing to hide." Well, until he actually sat before oversight committee and found out he had all kinds of things to hide. He had everything to hide.
Why would you plead the fifth so many times if you had done nothing criminal?
Yeah, precisely. And the beauty is we've got people like Josh Hawley, Ashley Moody, who are state's attorney generals, are prosecuting attorneys. They know the law. And I love it when, Josh interjects and rebuts what the Democrats are saying. But I don't think Anthony Fauci has a leg to stand on. He could have answered what color was his tie, what color is the carpet, but he wouldn't even do that. So again, I'm not an attorney. I don't understand all the intricacies of these laws, but I do know when somebody's holding Congress, our committee, our investigation in contempt, and that's what Anthony Fauci did last Wednesday. He held the American public in contempt.
So now where does this go? Directly to the DOJ, we've heard. Rand has been on our program and told us this.
Right. Well, that's up to the chairman, and we'll see what the Department of Justice does from here.
Can you architect for us what could happen there at the Department of Justice? Is Anthony Fauci committed a crime here?
Again, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a prosecutor. That'll really be up to Todd Blanche and the people who work with him.
Okay. What about if you find that he's withheld federal records on his phone, and he's, is that a continuation of a crime?
Well, unfortunately, he's been granted pardon for those types of actions, right? Mm-hmm. And he's a sweeping pardon up through, and he resigned, and those devices were held by HHS before the end of the Biden administration. So again, I understand exactly why President Biden gave him a pardon, because he is culpable. I think he is a criminal, no doubt about it. And a criminal that literally has the deaths of how many people?
7 million people.
Funded gain of function research, knew all about it, knew about Wuhan, China, covered that up. But then, I'm sure he was participating in the sabotage of early treatment with things like hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, so he could get his experimental gene therapy. Again, he wouldn't answer the questions. Did he know what Peter Marks found out within 3 months about the safety signals screaming at them from those experimental gene therapies? Told no one, denied to this day. So again, you take a look at the entire width and breadth of the pandemic, our miserably failed response to it. Anthony Fauci, if there's one person you can point to that was responsible for our miserably failed response to COVID, the deaths of millions, it's Anthony Fauci. I mean, how much bigger crime has ever been committed in all of history? And yet the Democrats he's still on that pedestal, and they refuse to pull their heads out of the sand, open up their eyes and understand what so many of other Americans are concerned about and want accountability for.
What about a state prosecution? The state of Florida is moving in the direction of prosecuting Anthony Fauci. Right now it's an investigation. The Attorney General, James Othmeyer, was up in D.C. working with Rand this week, and perhaps you. Will you be turning over the cell phone to the AG of Florida? Will you be cooperating with that?
No, absolutely. I met with the Attorney General last evening. We will absolutely do that. I know Coach Tuberville, probably be the next governor of Alabama. He's vowed to make sure that Anthony Fauci is in court every day for the rest of his life. So I think we got some dedicated people that want to hold Anthony Fauci accountable, but it's not just Anthony Fauci. I mean, he's the leader of the pack, but there are so many people that are complicit in this, that should be culpable, that need to be held accountable. I mean, the people in the agencies, people like Peter Marks, who knew that his algorithm was going to hide safety signals. Senior officials were shown the safety signals, including sudden death, sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, which Anthony Fauci suffered from in June of 2021 and told no one. Okay, so again, there's so much coming out right now. My concern is, I understand the urge, just move on. Let's go on with our life, but we can't. we have to have a full accounting. We need a COVID reckoning so it never happens again. If we ignore it, if we don't hold people accountable, if we don't open up our eyes and see what was done to us, they'll do it again to us. We can't let that happen.
Yes, you have to at least make an example out of someone. You can't let everybody get away all the time. It's what enrages people. People can't stand it. It makes them go insane. When
it can't just be one. It can't just be one person, though. It can't just be one person. And that's my concern about all the attention on Fauci. Again, not one major news outlet, not a newspaper or broadcast network has treated my revelation of Peter Marks knowing about these safety signals as news. I've been interviewed on podcasts like this, some other, Fox News, Fox Business had me on, but Fox News hasn't covered it as a news story. The biggest government scandal of my lifetime, and nobody's covering. Now they're covering Fauci, good. I'm glad they are, but they need to cover so much more.
So we have now an option when it comes to August recess for the Senate to potentially stay and to work on issues like this. And who knows what's going to happen? Maybe you do, Senator. We've been hearing some positive signals from Mike Lee that maybe we might actually see some motion on the Save America Act. Scott Pressler on our show yesterday said that he'll endorse John Fetterman and help him to get reelected in Pennsylvania if he votes for the Save America Act. And then it would pass with the J.D. Vance tie-breaking vote. Do you see any strategy, any architecture for potentially getting this done late into the ninth hour?
Well, again, I'm now budget chair, so I'm working on a reconciliation package where we can pass certain elements of election integrity. We can fund, scrubbing the voter rolls and paying for real IDs, that type of thing. Again, it's not the full Save America Act. It's not even the full Save Act. But, that we can do within Senate rules without, and again, we just don't have the support for ending the filibuster. And I understand that. I'm for ending it. I understand the reluctance. I'm sure you'd like Republicans to have the filibuster when Democrats gain control so we can stop the destructive legislation. So that's a legitimate point of view. But I do notice that Leader Thune just filed cloture on what I thought was a brilliant bill passed by the House. It's a ban on stock trading by members of Congress. And it's narrow enough so you don't have people divest of businesses, that kind of stuff. So it's one that I would support because I sold all my marketable securities. I don't trade in stock. So a ban on that combined with voter ID. And what's brilliant about that is when we had the Save America Act on the floor, all these Democrats, they were lying through their teeth, I'm sure, but they said, we're for voter ID. We're just opposed to this bill. Okay, well, will you actually vote against banning stock trading by members of Congress that just includes a simple voter ID bill? So Leader Thune just filed that. It'll be real interesting to see. Are Democrats going to vote against a ban building or banning stock trading by members of Congress, but also includes voter ID, which they all said they support? So that one vote might solve an awful lot of these problems and really do probably a better job of what we need in terms of voter ID than we can do in reconciliation. So let's see how that thing turns out. Otherwise, we'll also have the plan to at least proceed to the reconciliation package. But even there, understand most of that reconciliation package, it's a vehicle for doing election integrity. Our troops are in harm's way. So the Pentagon makes a pretty convincing case for $350 billion. This one's only 60. So again, there's a lot of things as part of budget reconciliation. Do we do one? Do we do two? That's what's being discussed in the conference right now, and we are working hard on it. We've had serious discussions about it now, and I'm trying to get a result.
So wait a second, this is perhaps news to me, and I'm sorry that I don't follow the tick-tock of the legislative schedule in the Senate as closely as perhaps I should. So you're saying that all the activism against John Thune or in favor of the SAVE Act has actually caused him to move on it. And we may well get SAVE Act architecture introduced by John Thune, and it's happening right now.
Yeah, again, John Thune has always been fully supportive of the Save America Act. It's how you can actually pass it without ending the filibuster, without that they refer to as doing violence against the Senate. And listen, I understand that. I'm not denigrating that at all. Again, I think most conservatives love the fact that we have the filibuster to stop Joe Biden and the Democrats. We're going to want it again. So I understand that. I just happen to think they're going to do it regardless, so I'd end it myself. But again, that's a legitimate point of view. But John Thune has always been supportive of the full Save America Act, the provisions the president added to the SAVE Act. But it's just, how do you get it passed? Recognizing that we don't have the votes to end the filibuster, so you can't do it that way. And the real point here is Democrats are the reason we can't get voter integrity bills. It's Democrats, it's not Republicans. Don't blame John Thune. Blame Democrats, particularly with an important election coming up. Don't blame Republicans. We want it. We want to pass it. We also want to preserve our ability to stop the socialist legislation that they just might want to pass themselves. So blame the Democrats. They're the ones that refuse to vote for any election integrity measures. And again, what's brilliant about what the House did, combine voter ID, which they all claimed on the floor of the Senate. Oh, we're for voter ID. We're just opposed to this bill. They always have some lame excuse, right? Here's a very simple bill. You've always said, you've always supported banning stock trading by members of Congress. Okay, we're going to combine the two. Here's two things you say you support. We support it. We're going to vote for it. Are you going to? This is very interesting. Again, I give the House all the credit. Speaker Johnson, who, that was a brilliant move. We've got members that recognized it, and Leader Thune has embraced that. Let's put them on the record.
So in closing here, Senator, Abdul El Sayed, he won his primary in Michigan. He's now the Democrat nominee. He's a communist and an Islamist. And he was lecturing people yesterday about how to pronounce his name and saying we all need to learn how to say his full name. Will you be calling him by his full name? What does this say about the nature of the Senate, the nature of the Democrat Party? What is happening in the Democrat Party going forward? Democrats are not happy about this, I don't think.
I hope he loses, so I never have to say his name. I'll just call him the Democrat, not candidate for the Senate, the radical leftist, socialist, communist candidate from Michigan. But that's my point. We unfortunately, a lot of conservative, a lot of Republican ire has been directed at John Thune or Republicans, directed at Democrats. You cannot be dispirited. You have to show up at the polls. This is worrying in America that a guy like that can win. That Graham Plattner can win. That these radical left socialists, they don't have to hide anymore. They don't have to lie. They're telling America exactly who they are, and they're getting elected in primaries. They have to be defeated in the general election, and the only way that happens is if our voters, if Trump supporters come out and make sure that the House doesn't become Democrat controlled, and then all we're going to be dealing with is impeachment votes. So Republican voters, conservatives, MAGA voters have to be re-energized. Listen, I know we're not perfect. Trust me. Okay. I know that the Democrats, the socialists are orders of more magnitude worse. They must be defeated or our country is in real peril.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's up to us. It's up to our supporters. So don't be PO'd at us. Take out your frustration at the Democrats. They're the ones who deserve it. They're the ones that are blocking voter integrity measure. They're the ones that would destroy this country if they get the power.
Your state's in real peril. You're in real peril. You're a white guy from Wisconsin. Francesca Hong, she doesn't like white people from Wisconsin. She might be your governor. Yeah, she's a candidate. She might be your governor. She hates white people. I guess she hates her own husband. He's white,
That's what I'm saying. This is, I know a lot of pundits are celebrating. Oh, it's not going to be easy to win these elections. So I don't celebrate it. I find this alarming that people like Francesca Hong and the candidate, however you pronounce his name in Michigan, are going to win these primaries and they are going to be candidates in the general election. That is alarming to me. They have to be defeated.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, an early happy Thanksgiving, just to piss off Francesca Hong, and an early happy 4th of July. She hates both those holidays. She might be your governor. Whoo, man. Okay.
We're praying.
80% white state, and the governor candidate hates white people, including her own children and husband, which is wow, that is pathological. Yeah. Thank you, Senator. Godspeed. And thank you for continuing the fight.
Take care.
Oh, boy. All right. I'm going to get it. Ron Johnson was kind enough to spend a little extra time with us, mainly because I was prying some funny questions and I wanted to ask about Francesca Hong. Yeah, that's right. Too bad. Their team blows, we like move. We have these time windows. I just get to chatting. All right. I just like our guests and I like this chat. We're going to do in the chat. So I can't wait. We do have John Solomon locked and loaded and ready to go. Advantage Gold can make sure that you're locked and loaded and ready to go. Things have gone bananas, BANANAS. It's been ups and downs. And, well, I want to make sure that you stay on the upward trajectory, especially when you're with your financial security. Historically, gold holds its value and has held its value far better than the S&P 500, frankly, over the last 20 years. If you're talking about what's happened over the 20 years, inflation has damaged our cash. If you're 59 and a half or older and you don't want to be sitting in cash for your retirement account, you can move part of your 401k into gold, tax deferred, penalty free. Gold rose 65% in 2025. It's trading around $4,000 an ounce right now with some major bumps potentially in the future. Invest in gold today. I text Benny to 85545. That's Benny to 85545. Get your free gold investment kit and learn a simple IRS approved strategy to move your 401k into gold. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. We have a big story off the top rope here. More than 600,000 voter files ripped off Arizona site in 2020 by hacker. The DOJ caught him. The hacker confessed, and then nothing happened. Wow. The story from Just the News, the great John Solomon broke it this morning. John Solomon joined us at the crack of dawn earlier this morning in order to chat through this massive revelation and some other big tectonic plates shifting when it comes to the lawfare against President Trump, the deep state, and rigging elections. Here we go. Welcome back to the program, King Solomon. This is your preferred pronouns. Is this correct?
I don't think my wife would call me a king. I'm pretty certain she would disagree with you.
Well, for every king a crown, and you got a crown this morning with the crowning #1 trending story in the world, the theft of election records in Maricopa. But this was during 2020, John. So I got to call you out on your reporting here and say I've been incredibly informed that this is the most secure election ever.
That's right.
So
just think about that now. Just think about that statement when we look back at that. Chris Krebs looking into 60 Minutes saying that, right? And now we go back. We know that Iran hacked 100,000 voter files from one state. China hacked 220 million voter files from across the entire country. And some Yahoo in Arizona with a computer writes a script and steals 633,000 voter files from Maricopa County site on the eve of the election. The FBI solves that case. The intelligence community has flagged that China did all this, and nobody does anything to fortify our system. And in fact, as today's story points out, with the new declassification tape, the FBI actually got this hacker in Arizona. They identified him. They got him to confess. And the Biden Justice Department, while they were putting in people in prison for trespassing on the U.S. Capitol lawn, decided not to prosecute a guy who admitted he stole 633,000 voter files off of the Maricopa County website. That is the bizarre world we're living in, and that is not the most secure election in the U.S. history. I can definitely say that for confidence now.
So maybe you can unpack this for us, John, and forgive me for being a bit of a Luddite here, but what could you do with all of these election files? You know, people start to glaze over when you throw so many numbers at them. They hacked millions of files, billions of files. Who cares, right? Like we used to have a phone book, right, that was delivered to our homes.
That's right.
With everybody's addresses in them and numbers. And so what perniciously could be done with these hacked files?
It's a great question, Benny. And the president declassified a document a month ago that gives us the answer to it. The reason, starting in January of 2020, that the U.S. intelligence community was so concerned that U.S. voter files were stored on insecure servers was that once you got access to enough of the information in a person's voter file, once you got to data that would allow a foreign power or a bad actor to go in and say, I'm actually John Solomon and I'm going to vote on his behalf. And because I know he shows up on election day, I'm going to file an absentee ballot. I'm going to vote for for himself. And then he's going to show up on election day and say, sir, you can't vote. You've already voted. How many times did we hear that happen in 2020? But that's one of the things that the intelligence community assessed could happen. Another thing that could happen is that China could go in, or Russia, or whoever, Iran. We know Iran and China did this. They went and got the files. They could go in and say, I'm going to change John Solomon's address. I'm going to claim that he moved 4 streets over. And he's going to show up with his ID on election day. And they're going to say, sir, your ID and your voter file don't match. You can't vote today, or you're going to have to file a provisional ballot. A third thing they could do is take my data, my identity, and I'm living in Virginia, but maybe they put me in Montana. And I'll never know, ever, that I'm registered and I voted in Montana. That is what the intelligence community said are some of the things they could do. The fourth thing they could do is take your voter file history. You voted in 6 consecutive Republican or 6 consecutive Democrat elections. We must assume you're a Republican or a Democrat. We're going to start to change your mind before the next election. We are going to bombard you on TikTok and social media with things to change your mind, that you should hate Donald Trump or you should hate AOC, depending what your political views are. And we're going to try to change your mind. Those are the things that the intelligence community warned could do it. They called this a pretty significant threat. By the way, the targeting of voter files is considered an act of election interference under that same document the president made public. So we know it's an act of interference. We know once they get it, well, they could do it. And then you'll say, well, that's all hypothetical, John. No big deal. Well, in the summer of 2020, after China began hacking and obtaining the voter files, they, according to the FBI documents we made public a few weeks ago, they sent some fake driver's licenses into the United States, several thousand of them. Fortunately, the FBI was on top of this and intercepted the licenses as they were coming in. But the confidential human source, twice validated, meaning that the FBI checked them out twice, good source, told them that what Joe Biden was doing was working with people on U.S. soil. They're going to take these identities and have them vote for Joe Biden and try to swing the election for Joe Biden in some battleground states. That intelligence you can read, because we put it up now for everybody to read. Now, what does the deep state do when this threat is there? We know that the threat's there. We know it can happen. Well, we had deep state people write emails like, I'm running a shadow government. What was that shadow government doing? It was grabbing all these warnings that China was doing this, grabbing all these warnings and making sure that they couldn't be investigated, making sure that the president of the United States, Donald Trump at the time, wouldn't know about it, making sure Congress was kept in the dark. Why did they do that? According to their own emails, they didn't want Donald Trump to be right about China. Remember, he was banging on China in 2020. So they knew the threat. They saw it unfold. They kept it from being alerted to the American people, Congress, the president, and we were kept in the dark. And as a result of that, we've had a glass chin of election security for 6 years. We all left the 2020 election saying, oh, Chris Krebs told us most secure election in the world. We now know China hacked our voter files. Some Yahoo in Arizona did it. Iran did it. Venezuela proved they could hack a voter machine and swap out votes. And for 6 years, having all that body of information until Donald Trump finally made it public, we were kept in the dark. And more importantly, we didn't fortify our system. We didn't make the changes that the intelligence community believed were needed to keep a foreign power from hacking a machine. So even if they didn't do it yet, they were in a position to do it. And it's this president, for the first time, because he allowed this information to be declassified, that puts our country in a position to fix it before this election takes place in November.
There is a case that was tried by the DOJ, not to conclusion, but it was tried in Michigan of a Chinese student voting in the election. Too bad, the vote's already in, it counted, and that Chinese student was spirited away.
He was.
Remarkably, even though we had seized his passport, visa, and we had him on lockdown, the Chinese government was able to engage in some type of Jason Bourne level espionage to get that Chinaman back to China after committing a felony crime here in America. So if they are that willing, if the government of China is that willing to take that extraordinary step in order to parachute in to enemy territory and get one of theirs back, how widespread do you think this actually was? You know, that's just the one we caught. And then two, why don't more people know about that? that the Chinese government engaged in a hostage rescue of an illegal voter behind enemy lines?
Well, the reason we don't know more about it is because our intelligence community, in the end of Trump and throughout the entire Trump 1 and throughout the entirety of Biden administration, kept this stuff under lock and key. They hid it. There's a moment where the driver's license intelligence, they're going to be sending driver's licenses in because they're going to vote for Joe Biden, and the FBI, it meets the threshold for alerting the CIA and the NSA and all the other intelligence agencies, hey, act on this. The FBI calls it back and orders that intelligence to be destroyed. They engaged in a cover-up. They kept our own country's intelligence services from defending us. We don't have an answer why such malicious actions were taken, why things that were clear and present dangerous to the election system were kept covered up, and in some cases ordered recalled. We see some indications of the politics. They don't like Trump. We got that. We have admissions. They were running I think as the FBI supervisor at the time wrote, a shadow government to keep the secret. But that 6-year effort to keep it secret until Donald Trump finally put the key in the lock and unlocked this box of documents kept us from finding out what did China really do. How many more people are there like this that voted or sent licenses in? We were flying blind for 6 years because the Biden intelligence apparatus, and quite frankly, the end of Trump 1's intelligence apparatus, made a conscious decision to cover this up. So we're still flying blind. We're just starting to get to it. Remember, early on in the Biden administration, the Biden Justice Department ordered the Chris Wray FBI to shut down the FBI's premier Chinese counterintelligence program. It was called the China Initiative. They ordered it shut down at a time when China's threats to the United States were higher than ever before. That's when they're bringing in the pathogens, right? That's when we got the lab leak. This intelligence community lied about China's origins of the virus in the Wuhan lab, and I think they lied. They tried to cover up the voting irregularities or the voting efforts. They tried to cover up the China acquisition of the voter files. If our intelligence community is supposed to protect us, we have a pretty serious question. Why have they been hiding all this from the American public? And why is Donald Trump only the first president to unlock the key and let us see it? We're just starting to get active measures going again to find out why these things happen, how much of it happened. It's going to take us months to get there, I assume, but at least now the people who are in the dark are in the know now, and it allows us to follow the roadmap and see how many more people. When you ask how many non-citizens or foreigners are in a position to vote in the election, the documents that we got declassified through the president last month give us an answer. In just 18 states that they looked at, less than half the country, they found 270,000 plus non-citizens who made it on the voter rolls. And the Democrats immediately said, lie, not true. And their media friends said, lie, not true. And then New Jersey's governor came out and said, oh, no, it's true. I had 6,600 on my voter rolls, and 400 of them actually got to vote. 400 foreigners voted in New Jersey federal elections. Largest group we've ever seen in history. So the president's recent declassifications are already having a domino effect, but it'll take us 6 months to a year to figure out what China accomplished, what Venezuela accomplished, what the foreigners that got on voter rolls, did they vote in large numbers or just the 400 in New Jersey? But the good news is after 6 years of being kept in the dark, the process has begun. We've removed the veil, and now we can get to the bottom of the truth.
So I just want to maybe we shatter one myth of the 2020 election, which is that it was the most secure election in American history. It was perhaps the least secure election in American history. I'm sure you would contend, you would agree with that.
It certainly was a far less secure election than we were led to believe. We were given a sugar pill in December of 2020, and it wasn't true.
And then, so let's shatter the next myth of the 2020 election, which is that the electronic voting machines were secure. You just said in your last answer that Venezuela can just straight up switch out electronically the votes. Please.
Yep. So beginning in January of 2020, the same time they warned about the vulnerabilities of the voter registration data, the intelligence community unanimously, albeit secretly, assessed that American voting machines could be compromised by 5 foreign powers. There are 5 foreign powers who could take the known vulnerabilities of the machines and potentially flip votes. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and Venezuela. They knew what the vulnerabilities were at that point. Nobody acted in the Trump presidency at the end of Trump 1 or at any time in the Biden presidency to close those vulnerabilities down. And that becomes even more alarming when you realize 9 months after the first warning in January 2020, in September 2020, the CIA detected Venezuela taking a voter machine that worked a lot like American machines. It wasn't an American machine, but it had a lot of the protocols that we use here, so it was relevant to the United States. And they were able, in a controlled environment, to swap out votes. Now, it wasn't in a real election. It was a test. It was in a test environment. But they were able to get through the encryption, take out the votes that were filed, put in fake ballots and fake numbers, and then send them up to the central repository as part of a test. That was a red alarm inside the intelligence community. But you know what? Other than reporting it internally, secretly, nothing changed. And so we went through the 2020 election, the 2022 election, and the 2024 election with those same vulnerabilities sitting there. We basically stuck a glass chin out and told a foreign power, come on and punch us, because we haven't told the states, we haven't told the president, we haven't told the Congress. Now, to date, I've not seen anything, Benny, that said that a foreign power exploited and flipped votes. I haven't found a document yet that says any votes have flipped in any election. But it is gross negligence for our intelligence committee to have left that glass chin unfixed for 6 months. Just because a foreign power didn't do it didn't mean it was the right thing to do. We should have hardened our defenses. That's why we have an intelligence committee. They left us with a glass chin for 6 years, and that is no longer in doubt. That is no longer a conspiracy theory. It's another one that came true.
So instead of talking about the actual capacity of a foreign power like China or Russia or Venezuela to rig our elections or to seed agitation movements against our democracy, I'm blown away at how correct we were saying that BLM and Antifa and all of that was foreign funded, and that was just
exactly what the documents show.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Yes. So way to go. You're literally working on behalf of the Ayatollah, right? If you were posting the black squares. Great job, everyone. However, our intelligence agencies were thrilled and excited in order to talk about foreign interference when it comes to President Trump and to say that he's a Russian agent when he fired James Comey.
Can you believe that? You can't make it up?
You can't make it up. James Comey, weirdly enough, he told us this in his Oxford comma tweet. ALX, I don't know if you can grab that and we pop that up. Yeah, but anyway, just really quickly, that's a big a story that also broke this week. Just really quickly, could you touch on that and then please tie it into the grand conspiracy, please, and the grand jury, and how do they intersect?
If we want to talk about election interference, the single largest proof that we now have is that the single greatest intrusion on American democracy has not yet come from China. It could someday, because of the vulnerabilities we allowed to exist, the voter files being swept up. It hasn't come from Russia, hasn't come from Iran or North Korea or Venezuela. It has come from our own intelligence and law enforcement agencies, who have not only put a thumb on the scale of an election, they have put their entire damn body on the scale. They launched a fake investigation on Donald Trump in July of 2016 that he was a Russian stooge of Vladimir Putin, knowing that it was faked by Hillary Clinton. They knew it as they were opening the investigation. They did months. They found out that there was no Russia collusion. As Bill Barnett, in the document I made public yesterday, a longtime FBI agent, trusted guy, not a politician, just a good agent, said, I found no evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. All that, there was no collusion, was decided by January of 2017 as Donald Trump is coming in. The will of the people are that they elected Donald Trump. The will of the deep state, of the CIA and the FBI and the Justice Department, was to not let the person the American people voted into office succeed. And so they continue an investigation that they know is wrong, that is not based on predicate information. Remember, the Biden Justice Department released John Durham's report in 2023. What did it say? There wasn't an iota of evidence to justify the opening or sustaining of the Russia collusion investigation from summer of 16 to spring of 2019. That's the Biden Justice Department putting that out. They had to admit that. We're in May now, May of 17. The scandal is being percolated by Pulitzer Prize winning places like the New York Times based on stories that were never true. And the FBI knows definitively that there is no Russia collusion. In fact, Pete Strzok, the most famous of the FBI agents in the case and the one that had the affair and all that stuff, he writes his lover that very week that they open up the case, Oxford comma, there's no big there. In other words, there's no Russia collusion. Despite that, despite what Agent Barnes said, despite the fact that the CIA had told the FBI that Carter Page wasn't a Russian stooge but a CIA asset, despite the fact that Mike Flynn had been cleared of any collusion, despite the fact that the Steele dossier had been completely debunked, the Hillary Clinton funded Steele dossier, the FBI decides that after James Comey is fired for, by the way, not anything he did to Donald Trump, but for mishandling the investigation of Hillary Clinton, they decide to open up a case saying, we believe that Donald Trump was acting at the behest of Vladimir Putin when he fired James Comey in May. And then Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General for Donald Trump, this is Donald Trump's appointee, he takes that case and he throws it over the fence and says, we need Bob Mueller and another 2 years of a special prosecutor. I just want to point out one thing about Rod Rosenstein. When he makes that decision, when he takes that case, Oxford, which has not an iota of evidence to justify that Donald Trump fired James Comey because he was a Russian asset. There was no proof he was a Russian asset. Rod Rosenstein knows the truth. You know why? He's the guy that wrote the memo that approved the firing of James Comey. He wrote the memo saying James Comey was fired because he violated Justice Department rules when he meddled in the Hillary Clinton email case. He knows that, and yet he takes a fake investigation, throws it over a fence, creates a multi-million-dollar special prosecutor investigation, and extends the Russian fake narrative for 2 more years. The victims aren't just Donald Trump. The victims are all the American people because the Trump presidency was hampered by that decision.
And the grand jury, real quickly, with the grand conspiracy?
Most of the people who've looked at the stuff we put out say these are all overt acts. If Joe DeGenova and the prosecutors want to do this in Florida, these are things that you would call overt acts in a series. Wash, rinse, repeat cycle. Violate Donald Trump's civil liberties here. Do it here. Do it here. Do it here. Violate the will of the American people. So these things that we're putting out, the lawyers that I'm talking say, hey, those look like they could be made into overt acts in a conspiracy indictment. Let's see if that happens.
Yes. Okay. Well, let's see if that happens. John, we really appreciate your time. We thank you. We know you've got to go. But just a final parting question here. Did USAID fund the rap game? Did the CIA fund the rap game? Is that why there's no rap in the top 40?
I promise you we'll get to the bottom of that with the task force before we're all done.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be with you.
Thank you. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I know I mute my mic during those things because I watch along with you. I scream and yell. I wonder about, well, what we could do better, what I should have asked, and also I like John Solomon, King Solomon. We haven't had a mute problem in a while, guys. Why not go in the chat? Let's go. This is maybe I do need to talk a little less. I'm not sure. We've been getting in trouble. We've been kicking the hornet's nest. I think it's good. I think it's time. The hour is late. I want to win in 2028, and I'm telling you, we're not going to win on this trajectory. You have to focus on the things people care about. You do. And so there has to be marked improvement. And this, again, is not an attack on anyone other than a political reality gut check. Any political movement, George Bush proved this. George H.W. Bush proved this. Joe Biden, of course, proves this. Any political movement that does not focus directly and then signal and constantly signal boost directly that they care about the price of groceries and gas and commodities and everyday goods, those movements get thrown in the trash by the American people. It can't continue on. I mean, it's the same. I'm the head of a household. I'm a father. And if every single decision that I made was in order to benefit somebody outside of my house, and I neglected my children and I neglected what they needed, and they were suffering, and they had unnecessary complications and pains that were because of my neglect, well, I'd be a bad father. And so I want to reorient as in our humble and limited capacities, but reorient our conversation based on that. And oh, by the way, how Trump won. I went to the MAGA rallies with you. We must have broadcast ALX, I don't know, 500 of them. We went there with you. We cheered for this. I was on stage with Trump. This is what we want. And it's an important signal. It's an important message. The president knows it in his gut. It's a complicated job. I'm not part of the security briefings. Nobody asked me, right? I'm not in the room where it happens. But I'm outside, and speaking the truth is a thing that we can do. And so this is a reorientation that we want to engage in. And so we're going to do our part, right? In order to say, yes, the cost of a burrito matters. And yes, the cost of everything has become obscene. And yes, we need to focus on that and then take care of our own household first. It's biblical, actually, right? When your children ask for a piece of bread, don't give them a snake, okay? Take the log out of your own eye, before worrying about other people. Care for what you have control over right here in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, let's call up some patriots before we go in the chat. Patriot Mobile is our home for ensuring that we have connection to patriots all around the globe, all around the world, all around our country. It's an awesome service. It does work internationally, but Patriot Mobile is the service that we use here at home. We don't like going internationally. We like it right here in this country. Patriot Mobile is premium cell phone service provided by Christians. It's a Christian conservative wireless provider, the only one in the world. 100% US-based customer support can make that switch for you today. Great wireless service and supporting the movement that you know and love that is saving our nation by defending faith, family, and freedom. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT, use a promo code Benny, get a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny, call 972-PATRIOT to make the switch today. Let's go in the chat. Go. All right. Here we go. In the chat. Guys, we got to come up with a system. We got to come up with a system where somebody puts up the chat. There's too many comments. We have to come up with a system. I hate to do it live here on the show, but it's just going to have to be ALX. It's going to have to be ALX or Danny or someone else. But I'll go through the starred chats here first, and then we can maybe get our system down more. Doing the show for how many years? Still building it up. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. From fun time to TV core. Time to put Jesus first and take our country back. Time for American Revolution. We must all stand up and be extremely loud and stand firm. And Jesus won't let us lose. God bless America. What a wonderful message. What a beautiful message for today. Yes. Fun time, the TV core. No notes. 10 out of 10. Dr. Fauci's got a lot of questions to answer for where he stands before God when he kicks the bucket. Dr. Fauci cannot claim the Fifth. There's no Fifth Amendment privileges in heaven, dude. Yeah. No Fifth Amendment privileges. We the people stood quiet for far too long. Now it's time to stand up. America's toast. That is a fact. We've got to stand up for what actually wins elections. Sorry, but this is what it is. Yeah, ALX, just have Danny do it. Okay? First two clips are show clips anyway. So have Danny jump in and do it. Or Klein, you can do it. I was a little scared. But yeah, Klein, you can hop in. Klein, grab like a couple comments. Here we go. Hunter Biden didn't like my cocaine joke, but it was only one-liner. What is your cocaine joke? Original Wojo. Oh, what is it? I don't know. Here we go. Remember when Democrats were saber rattling against voting machines? Good times. We actually have that clip. Alex, grab that. We have that clip. It's one of my favorite all-time clips. Kamala Harris. Maybe we should be voting on paper ballots. It's like incredible. You never know what you had until you lose it. Like maybe we should have taken her up on this. So there was a time when Kamala Harris was totally in favor of, great, pop it up. Totally in favor of voting on only paper ballots and banning all election machines. Here we go.
systems to audit, but also what they can do around best practices and best machinery. We are talking with them about the fact that it is probably best that you do not have your election system connected to the internet, because that will create greater vulnerabilities. And then look at where we are now in this year of our Lord 2018. We're talking about paper ballots, but that actually might be one of the smartest systems. Going back to, a day when we could have something tangible that we can hold on to, because Russia cannot hack a piece of paper like they can a computer system connected to the internet.
It's like watching Barack Obama talk about illegal immigration. It's like incredible. You would never find a Democrat talking like this today because they got to him. It's like a mafia. They got to him. They were able to roll him. They were able to see exactly how profitable and how important mass migration will be for their cause, and how that will be the only way to win would be mail-in votes and infinity migration. So the two tenets, the Democrats, we're not even talking a long time ago. We're talking about 2010. Okay, so let's just rewind the clock back to 2010. The talking points of Democrats in 2010 are now the talking points of Republicans. And we're seen as extreme. Talking points of Democrats in 2010 was close the border, deportations, send them back. You can find all of this. During the debates, Barack Obama was sounding more like Trump than a lot of Republicans are today. And then Kamala Harris, just hours before she ran for president in 2020, was saying we need to ban all electronic voting. We need paper ballots, day of voting. But now every Democrat's like, that's exactly what the SAVE Act calls for. And they're like, the SAVE Act's racist against black women. Kamala, who's calling for the exact same thing yesterday, that will make no sense. Except for, as this is my contention, is that there is a wholesale collapse that is so beyond what we can even comprehend in the electoral landscape for the ability for Democrats to win elections if they don't cheat. And we don't fully really understand exactly how bad it's gotten for Democrats and how low the enthusiasm is. But they see this accelerating. They know that the time is not on their side. Time's on our side. We're reproducing. Republican families make up all the something like I think it's 1 out of every 5 children in America is born to what would be considered like a Democrat family unit. And so we are outbreeding them. We're living longer. We live healthier, happier lifestyles. In 100 years, 80% of the country will be the progeny of Republicans living today if the trends hold and if all criminal mass migration is stopped, legal and illegal. So if you shut it down and you just run with the numbers today, we live in a right-wing kingdom. Massachusetts is going red. That's the trajectory we're on. And so I think that Democrats have realized that, they've internalized it, and they've said that even the decisions we held a few years ago, a few months ago, our heroes, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, the positions that they hold must be thrown into the trash and must be framed as extremist, radical, and racist for their survival. Imagine if Rosie O'Donnell was secretly the mastermind behind all of this. I don't know. I know Rosie O'Donnell got her job back on The View. Isn't it amazing when you actually boil it all down? It's just about cash for these people. There's no principle involved at all. I live by principles. I live by my morals. I do my best to live by my Bible. I practice what I preach. I have a big family by modern standards. I love my wife. I'm faithful to my wife. I do my best to just live out my little American dream here, right? There are no skeletons in the closet. There are no receipts. There's literally nothing. There's I'm doing my best. We're just doing our best, okay? And I live by my value system. I do. And so, it's easy to do that. Like when you're not lying about anything, you can just sort of live stream all day, take questions and tweet and post and do interviews. And well, it's a great life. It's a life of truth and honesty. But if you're Rosie O'Donnell, or if you're somebody on the left, you flee to Ireland. I will never return to America. Trump's a fascist. Well, she's in fascist America right now. I'm not safe in America. Well, you're here right now collecting checks. You're on red carpets. You're in Trump's hometown of New York. If he's such a dictator, such a fascist, like why would you be in his hometown? Oh, for money, actually. Like suddenly every single virtue, every value that they claim, that they virtue signal to their audiences that they care about. Wow, Rosie O'Donnell, she's so brave. She left America. She really believes in any of this. Nope. All it takes is like a couple of months, just a few short months of not being able to collect a check, which is the God for these people. Remember, communism is religion for atheists. It's church for people who don't believe in God. What is their God ultimately? Well, envy, greed, money. That is their God. Christians believe envy is a sin. They believe that envy is a virtue. And so she's back. She's back in order to collect her checks, in order to get on The View, in order to go on television, and to talk about Trump. It's all so tiresome. None of them believe anything. None of them ever leave and stay left. They all come crawling back. They realize something. That's like lucky because I get to live completely liberated and like peacefully, and I sleep really well at night because I don't ever have to lie to anyone. I don't have to lie to you. I don't have to lie to any of these people. I tell you, America is the greatest country in the world, and that it's worth protecting. It's worth saving. I do that through Democrat administrations, through administrations that wreck the country. And then I follow that up with actions. These people know America is the greatest country in the world with the greatest opportunities on earth, the greatest economy on earth, even if burritos cost $20. But they lie to their audiences and tell them it's a fascist dictatorship and it's terrible and that they fled forever. It's repulsive. It's a virtue signal. It's not real. Live in the light. The truth is the light. Yeah. Here we go. From Geraldman, 100. All this yapping will get nothing done. The people need to take their Second Amendment to D.C. and clean house. Trump failed and is now part of the swamp. Well, I got to tell you, man, it's like you don't just like the frustration with this is that people tried this on January 6th, right? Like there was nobody armed on January 6th, but you have a First Amendment right to redress your grievances. And you have a First Amendment right to like talk to your governing officials when they're out of line, to tell them what you believe, to make yourself noisy. And I have never advocated violence on this program, and I never will. Never once in the history of this program, no matter who I was talking about, have we ever advocated for anything other than the peaceful, existence. Now, is that peaceful existence in a prison cell? Well, for a lot of people, I hope it is. But it's a peaceful existence nonetheless. No, I'll never advocate for anything else. You don't want it to descend into civil war. The whole reason why we have a problem with TPS from Haiti or Somalia or anything is like civil war, modern civil war, collapsed societies. You don't want that. You want a peaceful revolution, and you can get peaceful revolutions from working within the house. You can get peaceful revolutions by convincing people of your side and your argument, by making life better for people. What is the thing that causes every single revolution throughout all mankind? The leaders, the rulers, forget the needs of the people. They reject their own household. They get bothered by, I don't know, far-off wars, trappings of the globe, the the majesty and mystique of military conquest, careful what you wish for, you know? You might get it. It's hypnotizing, right? Power. And it does remove you from everyday life. This is why I'm going so hard on this whole burrito thing and this whole affordability thing, because life is unaffordable. And I'm sick of people, I'm disgusted by people saying it's not, or trying to gaslight us into being happy that it's unaffordable. It's not happening, but you should be happy that it is. Okay. So smart. These are the people, these are the top podcasters? Yeah, okay. I'm like, I remember what it's like. God has been very good to us, and I'm grateful. Grateful. And I don't live in poverty anymore, but I did. And I did for a long time. And when I met my wife, I was in total poverty. And I will never forget what that feels like, to really, frankly, go to go out to a fast food restaurant and have it break the bank, have it like hurt to go eat fast food. And that was when we still had dollar menus. That was before a meal at McDonald's cost $10. What's the average meal cost at McDonald's? $10. So, you know, that was when $5 you could eat like a feast. So I like never forget where you come from. And don't ever lecture people that somehow their experience in the world that is real, that's actually happening, that's grounded in data, right? Not some fantasy. Call me Zay Zaire. Okay, that's a fantasy. Okay, it's not the real world. But like the actual world backed up by data with extreme cost increases for all basic goods and commodities, that's not happening. I can just scold them and lecture them. This is like the let them eat cake stuff. It's like King of England, King George II kind of stuff, right? The colonies will come crawling back to us. Yeah. Don't do that. But I don't advocate for violence. I never will. And I don't want it to descend into civil war. I feel like the way it doesn't descend into civil war is you go out and you deliver for the masses. You deliver for the people. I consider myself a nationalist, a populist. And so the interests and concerns and pains of the vast majority of Americans is the number one priority of my show. And the rest of the countries on Earth, every country on Earth can sink in the ocean as far as I'm concerned. You're a bad guy. Don't care. It's like, this is the country that my kids are going to grow up in, right? And I'm commanded to love my neighbor. Well, my neighbor is like my neighborhood, the people around me. The Good Samaritan story is about a man who was just like on the same path as you. It's like impossible to love the whole world. You can't do it. It's not possible. That's God's job. We're constantly like taking from God and ascribing that power to ourselves. We're constantly saying like the things that God has set aside for himself, like the eternal judgment of someone's soul. It's not up to me. It's up to God. I'm not going to do that here. I'm not going to sit there and wag my finger and tell everyone they're going to hell. I will say that Dr. Fauci can't plead the fifth at Heaven's Gate. That's for sure. But that's on God. And then loving all people in the world, that's also on God. That's not on me. It's impossible. But I can be good to people in my neighborhood. I do my level-headed best to be good to the people around me, be good to the people at this company, show up for the audience, the chat, not talk too much, which I'm doing right now. Okay. Why doesn't Trump pack the Supreme Court? Yeah, it's a great question, Terry. So the libs, like Pete Buttigieg, grab me that Pete Buttigieg clip, please. Pete Buttigieg is like, there's nothing wrong with packing the Supreme Court. Of course we should pack the Supreme Court. It's a moderate position to pack the Supreme Court. Grab me, I know we had it from the other day. And Kamala Harris said the exact same thing. Time for us to start packing the Supreme Court, says Kamala Harris. Okay. So if they believe that, if their argument is that this is the moderate position, then we should do it. Why can't Trump do it right now? Like, prove that you're a moderate by cheering up Pete Buttigieg. Cheer you're a moderate. Like, prove your moderate bona fides by cheering on President Trump in packing the Supreme Court today. Today. It's a great thing. Like, call them out, make them live by their own rules. Something we need to do a lot more of, frankly. All right, too late, guys. Too late. All right, here we go. All right, just in time. Saved by the bell. Here we go. Danny, please get in the chat. I'm going to call for assets. I want Danny, I want you hopping in and locked in the chat, please, so we can get these a little faster. Pete Buttigieg says it's time for Democrats to abolish the Electoral College and pack the Supreme Court. I can't believe that anybody considers this radical. No, you know what? You're right, Pete. And while I would not go as far as I will not call for the abolishment of the Electoral College, obviously, packing the Supreme Court, we can do that right now. Let's do it. Let's do it.
You're keen to remove the Electoral College?
There you go. I don't think we need to hear it. We really need to hear more from Pete Buttigieg. Follow the money, they say, but the ones sharing that information and research, etc., are not getting paid. Good luck getting them, you know. Well, you're right. Or they're not getting paid in a public manner. They're getting paid in a way that you can't trace it or track it. But still follow the money. I mean, that's what they're going to do with Fauci, right? Fauci became obscenely rich over all of this. Here we go. You're my hero, Benny, and love your crew. Well, thank you, Karen. God bless you, and we'll be showing up. We will stay strong through 2028. I'm not down with this whole third party thing. It's not going to happen. It's not going to fly around here. We're going to say ride or die, America First movement, and MAGA, and we're going to keep, like, instead of lighting the whole house on fire, we're going to try and be a friend from inside of the tent and keep pushing everyone towards America First policies, right? That's what we're going to do. Klein, read the Rumble chat. Klein! Mickey says, read the Rumble chat. Rumble comments show up in our giant chat stream, as you can see here. That's on screen for the vast majority of the show. So the Rumble chats do show up. And this is Rumble chat right here from Mickey. Hell hath no fury like a country scorned, says Pam Kaiser. 6168. You're right. Country music, man, it's gone crazy. A country scorned. In case you're wondering exactly how, I asked John Solomon about the rap game. In case you're wondering how important all of this is, like, somehow Ella Langley, like, just out of nowhere with, like, just an old school country song. Here's this homeschooler Christian who writes just a beautiful country music lyric. It's not pornographic. It doesn't include any cursing. It doesn't include any rap beats or rap interludes. But it now country music is, like, top of the charts. Like, the top, like, 7 songs in the top 10 are country music songs. That's the country that we live in. Now every rap artist and Beyonce and everyone's trying to be country music. They fail at it, of course. It's like a joke. Anybody make a worse career decision than Taylor Swift leaving country music? Oh, you're so redneck. Oh, we'll never be big. We don't do pop music. No. This is, like, the actual need. There's a lot of, like, very positive cultural signs. Very positive cultural signs. This is original Wojo, who said there was a joke that that he or she couldn't tell. The joke was, you do lines of cocaine, and the joke had one line. Okay. I can tell you, I've never done drugs. I have and the entire team here will tell you, I have a very energetic personality. You have to bring a level of intensity to this job, but I'm already neurotic enough, and we already, like, work hard enough, and I already get enough, like, kick from the caffeine, I guess. I don't even do, like, the little nicotine pouches. Everyone tells me maybe I should do that. But yeah, I don't. Have never done cocaine. But I do live in Florida. I've watched Scarface, but I don't intend on changing that, to be quite honest with you. And as I'm getting older, like, I'm trying to get more in shape, and I'm trying to take care of my health more. And it is amazing. You do have an enormous amount more energy by doing that. What has that woman been doing? Says Nola. Kamala Harris is that. I mean, we didn't talk about a woman that we only played like a Kamala Harris clip. So maybe you're talking about Kamala. She's been running for president. That's what she's been doing. She's going to run for president. She's already said it. She's gonna do it. And we have a clip of what she's about to do when she runs for president. Just to let you know, she's been thinking about it. Here's Kamala Harris. What is her agenda? When she runs. Hey, guys.
To revisit the Electoral College. We need to revisit the point of expanding the court to 13 justices like we have 13 district courts. We need to revisit, if they so want, statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C.
Yes.
If we regain control of the Senate, I served on this committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, when I was in the Senate. Only the second black woman elected to the United States Senate after Carol Moseley Braun. And the Senate Judiciary Committee has the power to create rules for its committee that don't have to go to the whole Senate for a vote and worry.
Can you believe it? They're going to try it again. They're going to try it again. They're going to bring that. They're going to bring that national again. It's incredible. Blow Iran's ass off the map and turn them into glass already. Nope. I don't agree with it. I don't agree. Like we've already tried these regime change wars. And what is the argument here? First, use nuclear weapons. There's not a lot of nuclear powers. Same World War II anymore. A lot of nuclear powers in the world. And nope. I don't think that's where we want to be. I don't think it's where you're not going to be able to pull that off with strategic missile strikes or even MOABs. Iran has 100 million people and is twice the size of Texas and has a much harsher and worse terrain than any nation America has ever tried to invade. And that includes the jungles of Vietnam. And that was a mess. And so, I don't know, I would have been totally in favor of potentially using nukes during the Korean War. I got to call it what it is, right? There was a time when you could use strategic nukes and nobody could do anything about it. And so maybe you could make that argument, right? That this is our huge advantage, but now it's like 15, 20 countries have nuclear weapons. And you don't want a world where that becomes just commonplace battlefield necessity. Call me whatever you want to call me, I guess. But I just don't think I don't think that's going to be, that's not the world that I want to live in, where we just assume that nuclear weapons are going to be hitting the battlefield or hitting our cities. It's not a great way to live. Not a great way to live. Trump needs to fight harder before the midterm. Give us some idea of how to win for our country. Well, that's right. Angela Chung, this is why I don't like the Iran war. I've never really liked it. I'm trying to I'm trying to cheer for Trump and I'm trying to keep the party together, and I don't have to agree with every decision, but it is my responsibility to talk about political realities. And the political realities of this war is that it hasn't made gas prices cheaper. It hasn't made commodity prices cheaper. Everything is still very expensive. It's already very expensive, and now it's getting more expensive. And so that's going to be fundamentally unpopular. If you don't like that, then you need to get your head examined, or you need to start asking questions about your own soul, because that's what we promised the American people, and we need to deliver on that. Now, the reason why this war is always such a tantalizing thing, and why people get mesmerized or hypnotized by it, is that you're always surrounded by the military in these positions as vice president or the president. You're constantly surrounded by the military. This was told to me by a top Trump staffer, that everywhere you go is a military procession. You're flanked by the dazzling militaries of the world. You're always landing on American bases. And you can sort of get this illusion that there's nothing we can't do or nowhere we can't conquer, and that maybe the military is the solution to everything. And there's a lot of people in Washington, D.C. that's going to tell you that because they get rich off of militaries going to war. They get rich off Ukraine. They want that to continue forever. They get rich in Iran. They want that to continue forever. But that's not good for the American people. And there's not a single modern war that has benefited the American people, period. None of the Gulf Wars did. None of the GWOT wars did. And this war doesn't. And there's no point in deceiving ourselves about that. And I think the administration, you can see like the actions of Trump. Trump did not want this to be some type of prolonged or protracted conflict. And now they're very much pumping the brakes on everything. And so I think there's like the real cost is not the number of THAAD missiles we fired, although those are expensive. The real cost is the cost of attention, the cost of energy. Not like energy, the barrel of oil energy, but the cost of like the administration's energy towards the efforting of a solution for this problem. And I wish that all the energy that was poured into the Iran war was instead poured into getting gasoline prices down to 99 cents, which they could have been, honestly. They were at $2 a gallon nationwide in December. What if we'd gone like just full bore on Venezuela, oil fracking, refining, opening every single strait, opening every single avenue of energy production, and every single special tool that we have in our toolkit, refilling the petroleum reserve with cheap gas so that we have massive leverage over the market? And wouldn't that have been hey, gas is 99 cents. Well, that's an unbelievable midterm message. Gas is 99 cents. Didn't think it was possible. It is. You say $1 can't buy you anything anymore. It does. What's amazing is when gas is 99 cents, you get that McDonald's dollar menu back. Can you put that up, please? You get the dollar menu back when gas is 99 cents. And so that, I think, would have been a far greater and better mission. And it's not sexy. It's not, it doesn't get you headlines, it doesn't bring you grandeur, but it does win you elections in landslides, actually, this issue. And isn't that the point, ultimately? To keep your agenda going, to maintain power, to exercise power, to not be imprisoned by the left, or to have our borders flung wide open again? All right, guys. I'm going a little bit late here. Here we go. What would you order off this menu? What will you order off this menu? The team was telling me there was a Cuomo. There's a Cuomo quote. Where was it? Was there one? I don't know. McDonald's will never have another dollar menu. What would you order off this menu? If you had $5, what would you order? If you had a few dollars in your back pocket, what would you get? What would you get off this? Yeah. Okay, here we go. McChicken. All right. McDonald's food is crap anyway. Okay. Only fries. There you go. Shoot. Sorry, the comments are coming in too fast. I guess we've struck gold here. All right. We have 2 McDoubles and fries from somebody who might be in Scotland. Okay. St. Andrew. All right. 2 McDoubles and fries. That's good. 2 McDoubles and fries. That seems to be a very popular order. Nothing. It's all poison. You are, you're not incorrect there. I love this from Lenny. Hello, Lenny. We are getting there. $175 gas. Let's do it. None of it is fake food. Yes. I mean, you're right. This is not the best, But when you're extremely poor and you have no other options, like I did, like maybe this did help me survive. Beef tallow fries, that's good. Fries and a McChicken. Only fries. You should start that site, John Racones. You should start that site. You could compete with OnlyFans, and then could be Only Fries. And I bet you'd do better. I bet you'd crush it. I bet that, dude, you do so well in Wisconsin, in Canada. Only Fries would be huge. You should consider starting that. We got some McChicken fans. Okay. Big Mike is still a man. I live in North Carolina and it is expensive. That's right. Nothing. I don't eat McDonald's. That's fine. Pies and fries. That's right. 2020, I paid $16 for a Big Mac burger, no fries or a drink. Ugh. True. Nothing these days. Dude, I think every country likes McDonald's. That's true, man. McFlurry. Effing $4 gas here. Ugh, I hate it. We love you back, Billy. We do. And again, I'm a member of the team. I want Trump to win. I want our movement to win. I don't know, man. I remember a better America. Taco time, 49 cents. That's right. It used to be 49 cents at Jack in the Box. That's right. Large number 3 for $11. I eat bacon every day. Probably not voting for Al Sayed in Michigan. Nothing's all poison. Don't eat McDonald's. I will tell you, I'm not advocating eating McDonald's. I'm just saying that this was a sign of a different America, right? Fries now only fries. Now we got a lot of comments on only fries. I'm down with only fries. People saying MTG should join only fries. Sundays and pies. Okay, very good. McTrash. There you go. How can they mess with the fries? Oh, and the apple pies are so good. Oh, that's right. Queen Kamura of Avalon on Rumble. Sunday and fries is good. You dip your fries in the sundae. Stopped eating that long ago. But fries and hash brown. That's right. One of each. Okay. McChicken, add onion. Oh, that's aggressive. Okay. McChicken, add the onion. All right. Okay. Lab-grown meat from Bill Gates. Gross, nothing. Okay, well, we have a very, I mean, I didn't know this, guys. We have a very health conscious chat here. I love that. Way to go. I take 2 McPlastic burgers, 3 McChicken, and a small fry. We can make healthy food at home. Yes. Beautiful. And I want you to be able to do that. I want you to be able to afford that. I want that healthy food to cost less than, the trash food that you can get. Trash food is even expensive these days. $5.69 a gallon in Michigan for octane. Ugh. Yeah. Man. I don't want it. I think Trump's like, you can see it. You can see it in his actions. Trump's just like, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to just be done. I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens next. Alex saying he gets roasted for drinking full Coke with full sugar. What do you guys think of that? You guys Coke drinkers? Alex, I've never done cocaine, but Alex says Coke. Full sugar Coke. Wow, Klein, you were fast with that one. Finally, Finally, one of our assets played quick enough for the show. Great. Okay, so when I'm getting booed by my own team, that's fast. That's on time. Oh, okay, great. All right. All right, this is our last chat for the day. Remember fake Kamala McDonald? Yes, that's right. Remember fake Kamala McDonald? That's my favorite news cycle ever is Donald Trump going to McDonald's, trolling that Kamala Harris never worked at McDonald's, and she never said a thing about it ever again. Never. She didn't say a damn thing. All they had to do was counter it with a photo of Kamala at McDonald's, a pay stub. They could have like owned Trump so bad and gotten like, had Kamala go to the McDonald's, right? The McDonald's offered to have Kamala go work. She didn't. And I guess this like perfectly sums up the point, right? This perfectly sums up what we're talking about here today. Look at that. They made fake AIs. This is, of course, a fake AI, right? They were called out on this. They had to get community noted and fact checked. They have no photos of Kamala Harris in her McDonald's uniform. They have nothing. Oh, do we have a song? Okay. Wow, do we have a throwback? Okay, well, let's load that up. I love these days. Let's go back to the glory days. You know what? Whatever's old is new again. Like Kamala's running for president again, so we're gonna have the same debate. Did Kamala Harris work at McDonald's? Did Kamala Harris ever work at McDonald's? Jerry's back in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. And starting next week, we're going to be having memes back to kick off the show. We're going to be having colds back. Cold back on the show. Not on the other content, but on the show. We're on a standoff with YouTube right here. But this is the kind of art that we were making back in the day that were like straight bangers. Here we go.
The story of young Kamala rode a donkey from Tijuana, met a man, Willie Brown, deep in the bowels of California. Nice to meet you, nice to know you. Would you like fries with your order? Come a bit closer. I got something I want to show you. This is my spatula. This is my apron. My name is Kamala. You know what I'm saying? I load the pallets in the back. Golden arch. I'm a wreck. Oh, Willie, you made a mess. Think fries are done. Think fries are done. Oh, what have I done? I just needed a job. One day I'll become a lawyer. Think fries are done. One day I'll be a lawyer. Think fries are done. One day I'll
Such a nasty woman.
Run it back. We had something there. Then Google and YouTube demonetized all AI, right? And like we're ripping down channels left and right. So we had to be very careful about the AI products that we put up. So that is what it is. We love Jerry. You know we love Jerry. And Jerry's back, baby. Back. Okay. So we're excited for that. Would have been the easiest dunk in history, but Kamala Harris had no response. And she also, and I'm just gonna, here we go. Here we're gonna do the weave. We also had a moment where Kamala Harris could have said, I care about the hardships of the American people. And working at McDonald's is a really tough job. Working in the service industry is maybe one of the toughest jobs or the toughest job on the market. I was a waiter all through college. I paid for my college. Man, my feet have never ached. 2 days in football or whatever, like my feet have never ached like working a double as a waiter, and carrying those trays and like just being on the whole time. And it's exhausting. I'm sure you were a waiter. I'm sure you had a service job. And Kamala Harris, instead of working class theft, which is what she engaged in, right? Stolen valor, working class stolen valor by telling people that she worked at McDonald's when she didn't. She could have actually made up for a lot of that by just showing up at a McDonald's and working a shift. By signaling to people that she actually cares, that she's like real. And she'd like that this is, no. I'm not taking this flippantly. I'm not lying. I do care about these things. And she needed to signal that. Of course she didn't. She's completely flat-footed and paralyzed. And it's awful to be paralyzed like that. You gotta have the motion, man. You gotta be able to roll with it the way that Trump was in the zone. Trash truck, McDonald's, stop, ear pillow. Awesome. The aesthetics will be unmatched. We've got to win, ladies and gentlemen. the Senate race in Michigan is actually a gift. It's a gift to us. You can see that the Michigan Senate election winner probability has collapsed as of late. It's still 60-40. Non-exact science. But let's see what happens in the next few months. Gas, 99 cents. You want to flip this? Gas, 99 cents. You want to flip this? Start talking about affordability like the socialists and communists are doing. And they're only doing it because we dropped the ball, right? So pick the ball up, keep running, keep moving forward. The whole purpose of life, the whole key to life, just keep moving forward. Verse of the day, Philippians 2:3, give you the power to keep moving forward. Do nothing out of selfishness, ambition, or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself. Do nothing, ladies and gentlemen. Vain conceit. Always make like, listen, I don't have to eat off the dollar menu anymore. But I did. And I don't look down on people who do have to do that. I feel very sorry for them because I know how tough that is. And I want to help by doing everything that we possibly can, not to hate on Trump, not to attack the administration, to help the administration, to help our movement, to uplift America, because that is what America great again means. It's the purpose of our movement. The forgotten man and woman. Remember that? So we got to get back to lifting people up, not acting out of selfishness or vain conceit, but humility and valuing others above ourselves. My fellow Americans, we can walk and march on to victory by following these simple precepts and truths that God's got us, that Christ is King, and that in the end, we're going to win. See ya.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.